Hey, hello everyone. Do you guys do a lot of physical access to systems that are headless? Like, do you go to a data center, hook up to some servers, maybe your home lab personal data center, which are not real servers, but they sit in your closet like me. Maybe you work with computers all day and you're just sick of having extra monitors and keyboards and mice around your desk. Maybe you could use one of these guys. So this is the Openterface KVM-GO. I got all three versions today to test. We got HDMI, we got DisplayPort, and we got VGA. So these guys have the connector built right in. You plug it into your target system, your victim. It captures the display output from your system. It's also got a USB port that emulates a keyboard and a mouse, and you control it all from your laptop. So I can hook up to any system that's just sitting there. I plug in USB, I plug this guy right into the HDMI port, don't even need an HDMI cable, and I got the whole screen as a window on my laptop and I can interact with it. So if you work with computers all day, especially physical computers that you have to be plugging in and out all the time, maybe one of these guys would be helpful for you. So if that sounds good to you, then come along on this adventure. Also, if you have your own home lab personal data center, maybe you need the home lab, your own personal data center t-shirt. Link down in the description to my merch store. Also, Openterface sent these to me for review, free of charge. No money changed hands, and they won't see the review until you do. Now, I know some people say, well, I got the product for free. Yes, I have a lot of little KVMs, because I reviewed at this point pretty much all of these little KVMs in the market. Both the USB kind for your laptop and the IP kind for Ethernet. So check up here for my playlist if you want to see more. My goal is to have a video about every mini KVM on the market. So I want to have good comparison data for you guys, so come along. So it comes in this nice case here. Let's take a look what we got inside. So they've actually sent me all three models here, although normally you'd only get one. So they got a clip, you can clip it onto your backpack or something. They got pictures of it, all these versions dangling. On the back side we've got our USB, so one of these goes to the host and the other one goes to the victim. And then on the front side, if we pop the cap off, we've got a male HDMI that we can just plug right into the device. And there's a slot for a micro SD card. Now the DisplayPort one, very similar. Pop the cap off and we've got DisplayPort now instead of HDMI. And the final model, VGA. So I know a lot of you guys are stuck with old VGA servers or even new VGA servers. Yep. And so having the ability to plug this into your server, have native VGA support, I think that's something a lot of you guys have been asking for. Now, as far as I know, Openterface are the ones that really care about VGA the most. They're the only ones that I have seen to include native VGA support in their product line, at least from these sort of low-cost, more consumer-focused devices. We've got a USB Type-C cable for the victim. So this plugs into the KVM with Type-C, and then on the other side we've got a Type-A, Type-C combo. So we can plug that in to control the keyboard and mouse, stuff like that. And they've also included a very nice Type-C cable, it's 20 gigabits for the host side, so it's orange. So this again plugs into your computer, Type-C, Type-A combo, and then to the KVM over Type-C. Okay, so I got all three models here. Time to do sort of basic test. I'm going to choose the HDMI model for my first test here. And I've just got a mini PC. We're going to boot it up and see how it works. I should be able to just plug this right into the device, and well, that was easy. So now I need USB. I'm going to use the Type A today, it looks like. So we're going up, it's upside down, as USB-A always is. We go into the target side, and I'll hook this up to my laptop and we can get testing. So I'm just going to do basic test now. I'll go back and get into the BIOS later. But now I get to open the Openterface app. They have open source apps available for macOS, written in Swift, open source. A Qt version, which can compile for Linux or Windows or probably anything else Qt supports. And then there's also a native Android version as well. So all of them are open source on their GitHub, and I'm using the macOS version. There we go. So we had some weird resolution switching going on. Come on, boot up. Okay, this is a real little spot. What the hell's going on here? Okay, this is acting weird. So I'm going to try Jet KVM. Okay, so Jet KVM is not detecting HDMI either. I wonder if it's like an EDID problem. So like the computer's not detecting a display connected, so it's not activating HDMI. I don't know. I could try with my Windows system. This is my Kali system that I use for a lot of testing. So, okay, now HDMI is connected. Okay, so Jet KVM is working fine now, but whatever this EDID, the EDID from this got the computer into a weird state. Interesting. So now if I swap HDMI over to the Openterface, and I get nothing. I'm going to switch over to the DisplayPort one to see if maybe I have an issue with this specific dongle. So we're going to do host to host, target to target, and we're going to plug into, well, I can't fit because of this little thing out the side. So DisplayPort 1's working fine. I've had no issues with the DisplayPort unit. Maybe my HDMI unit's bad. Interesting. But I'll progress forward with the DisplayPort unit. And I guess I'll put the Jet KVM away. Okay, so a little bit of lag on the mouse, not too bad. Can you go into full screen? Okay, so we're going to paste, so we hit Command V. Command V did nothing. Control V. Oh, nope, no, it's just thinking. Paste action, local paste. Yeah, host paste. Yes, we're going to type it out. Please. There it goes. And it seems to be going fine. Sometimes these KVMs have errors in typing. This one doesn't seem to. Now, can I stop it by hitting cancel? No. So, I mean, it's always possible if you're working on a remote system like this, you copy and paste some file, you have it type it out and realize it's a little bit longer than you thought. So I pasted in the whole script of the B-movie, and it looks like we're just going to be kind of stuck here waiting for it to finish. We have no way to quit it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is going to finish typing out the whole file you did, and it looks like it's doing it correctly. But some systems warn you if you have too much text. Some systems just cap it to some hard limit and won't let you go over that. There's just different options. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I closed and reopened the app, and then it was stuck typing A's forever. We have now recovered from that, so go ahead and save that. We didn't actually care about that at all. Actually, though, one thing we do care about is OCR. So this thing has the ability to read text off the screen and copy to the clipboard on your host. So if you have, say, like a public key or something you want to copy from the test system on your local system, we can do that. So like here's the SHA-1 of that document, which is not finished being typed. But let's say I wanted to do that. Can I OCR copy my way to it? Select multi-line text area. I might have got the cursor in the way there. See how that does. Now I got it. 4883, 4883, 4415D, 792, 792, 0CMA, 1499, 848452, 3000. Got it right. So OCR copy works. So being able to just kind of use your mouse keyboard, see the video from the DisplayPort, that's sort of the bare minimum for a KVM. Now we've already gone a little bit above and beyond the bare minimum by doing copy and pasting text, although pretty much everyone has that too. OCR though is pretty unique to these guys. I haven't seen many other KVMs do OCR. So that's a cool feature, and that seems to work really well. So now let's see if I can get in the BIOS. So this guy is my GMK Tech. I think the BIOS key is escape. I guess I'll figure that out. So I'm going to tell it to reboot. I guess I'll just hold the power button, turn it off. And let's see if we can get the BIOS set up from this. Oh, I'd also like to point out the screen image is retained after it loses signal. So we lost signal here, but it doesn't seem to be aware of that yet. But we'll come back up. And I'll start hitting escape. I think it was escape, maybe it was delete. There we go. We're in the BIOS. So, can I boot other drives? I can boot other drives. I'm on Kali, so it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, it looks like full BIOS control works. So, when we're in the BIOS, we kind of want to load like an operating system or something. And that's where this micro SD slot comes in. So I mentioned earlier, micro SD switchable. Okay, so I got a SanDisk 64 gig. Let's see if we can get this guy in here. There we go. So this should be switchable between the host and the target so that I can flash an operating system onto here from my host, leave my favorite operating system inserted in here, and then boot to it from that system. So I'm going to start by plugging it into just my host so I can image it. Now I got on the side here, it says T and H, which matches up to these two connectors. I should be able to click the button to change it. Over on my computer it says it's not readable, but we're going to ignore that. Alpine, that's a nice small image. Let's do that one. And we got the 64 gig micro SD card. Let's go ahead and image that. Okay, now I have an Alpine image on this guy. So I should be able to hook him up, and I'm not sure if it's going to default to showing up to target or host when I have both connected, but I guess we'll see. So let's get this guy booted up and mash the delete key. Okay, rebooting the app. Seems to have the app working again. Not rebooting, sorry. Just closing and opening the app again. So now I'm in the BIOS setup and I can launch generic USB drive. But there's a button on the side, and if I click it, it'll change that. We're going to launch into Alpine now, see how this looks. Okay, well, we're in Alpine, so we booted. I used Alpine because I didn't want to wait to image a system with Ubuntu, which is like 6 gigs. So now I should be able to click, Alpine's loaded in RAM. I can click the button on the side here, and it should switch back to my laptop. And yeah, laptop found it. And over here on the app, I can click that back as well. Oops. So now we're on to, oh, stop it. Takes a little while to think about it. There we go. Okay, so the pass-through of microSD seems to work fine. I am having some flakiness in the app on macOS. Sometimes not liking when I unplug and replug the KVM. So it seems like I want to restart the app if I restart the KVM as well. Not sure what that's about or if that's unique to the macOS version. Okay, we're giving another chance to the HDMI. So I'm plugging in host. It's coming up with a red light. Plugging in target. I'm now going to plug it into the HDMI port. Plug in target power. Okay, app is open. We're going to hit the escape key. We're going to see what happens. Oh, we got in the BIOS. Okay, so the HDMI one seems to be fine in the BIOS. What if I launch into Kali? Okay, we're stuck at this screen again. So it seems like something in the HDMI EDID that's not in the DisplayPort EDID is causing the X server to crash, or does Kali even use it? Kali probably uses Wayland now. I really want to know what the EDID is that it's showing. So I'm going to connect, how can I get into the system to see the EDID info in HDMI? I'm going to connect up the DisplayPort one also. So we'll have 2 of these guys connected, and I think I can connect, I'm going to need another USB cable. Okay, so now I got DisplayPort hooked up fully, and I got HDMI hooked up just to the victim and not to the host. And then I'm expecting I have to reboot the target because I changed my monitor configuration. So I suspect something about the EDID info that the HDMI unit is sending is causing X or Wayland to crash or just not identify the display as valid. I'm not sure why that would happen. So I'm going to log into Kali. I think Kali is running XFCE, which uses X11. So it would be the X server's fault. Okay, this is the struggle bus for me. Alpine is not able to start X, so Alpine's pissed off. I'm going to try swapping over to DisplayPort and see if Alpine likes that better. We will see, I guess. So now, if I open a new terminal, do I even have a terminal installed? I'm not sure. I do, okay. Okay, XRender, DisplayPort 3 is connected and supports these video modes. So now if I plug this guy in, I'm going to plug him into HID. So now he's going to power up, and I'm going to plug him into HDMI. And what does he show as supported? HDMI disconnected. Okay, so he's not showing up because he doesn't show up as connected. That makes sense. I have another Openterface. I'm going to try my spare. Let's see how this goes. So they sent me one for a hardware beta test a few months ago, and it had a hardware bug, so they did another spin because they hadn't gone to production yet. And so this is my Gen 1 prototype. So let's see what this one looks like. Doing the same thing, plugging into target. Yeah, so now it shows up as having two. Okay, so my HDMI one is just broken. God, this is frustrating. Okay, put this one back away. This one has other hardware bugs, so I don't want to test with it today. But put that one back away. What do you guys think about VGA? Okay, so I think a big selling point for this, for a lot of you guys, is VGA. Now I know that some modern servers still use VGA, which is horrifying to me, because this 15-pin D-sub is an interface from 1987, and we've had digital display outputs since 1999 when DVI came out, and yet we still stick with this. DisplayPort is a standard that doesn't have licensing problems like HDMI does. DVI didn't have those licensing problems either until the HDMI people got hold of it. So anyway, I asked my fiance if she had any old computers I could test with, because I don't actually own anything that has VGA. And she gave me, which pocket is it in? This. I was like, oh, that'll have VGA. That's from 2007. Unfortunately for me, Apple, while they used VGA back then, used their own proprietary connector that needs a dongle. I don't have a dongle for this, so I guess I keep digging and try to find a VGA compatible device we can test with. Because I really do want to show you guys how the VGA version works. I think most of you that buy this are going to be buying it for the VGA version, because that's something that so many of the other manufacturers don't address, VGA compatibility. But I'm having my own problems finding VGA in 2026, because it should have died more than 10 years ago, but it didn't. So, like I said, I don't actually have any VGA devices to test with. I did try setting up the jankest setup I have ever done, which involved hooking up an IPMI card onto a PCI Express riser, onto an Oculink port, and I couldn't get that to work. So, I took this guy to a makerspace one night. Now, there were other people there. It was kind of small, so I couldn't really film much. But I did plug this thing into a computer, and it worked perfectly fine. This was some sort of old Dell Optiplex or something running Linux. I'm not even sure if it was running X11 or Wayland, but I had no issues at all using the VGA device on the computer at the makerspace. So I guess that means I am now 2 for 3. DisplayPort 1 worked great. The VGA one, although I didn't test it nearly as thoroughly, also seemed to work pretty well. And the HDMI one, I couldn't get to work on either Kali Linux or Alpine Linux. Now both of those are using XFCE with the X server, and I guess I'll sort of give it like one last chance at redemption by plugging it into my laptop here and seeing if that works. Of course, my MacBook only has Type-C, so I need my handy hub mouse. I got HDMI there. Let's go ahead and plug this guy into the HDMI port. And I'm also going to need the host connection, which is going to go to the Type-A. And we'll hook that up to the host side, so we just won't hook up the target side. And plug this whole thing into the Mac. Okay, well, it came up. So this is interesting. So in the display window of macOS, this one doesn't have a name. So this is built-in display. Normally this would be the model name here, but this one doesn't have one. So maybe that's why it's not getting detected correctly in some places. Okay, so the HDMI one does function sometimes. It worked here on macOS. Again, I tried Alpine Linux because that was great for debugging in like a live system. I tried Kali in my test system. Neither one of those worked. So hopefully the HDMI will work with your system. Or even better, they came out with a firmware update that fixes these heated issues. Now, I didn't have those issues with the VGA or DisplayPort version. These guys both worked great. And on the whole, I'm really happy to see multiple versions here, especially HDMI and VGA, because I know VGA is something that's very underrepresented by these low-end or low-cost open KVMs that have come out in the past few years. So of course you could buy enterprise KVMs for like $500 that do this sort of thing. But in this sort of price point, VGA, these guys are really the only company that I've seen so far that take VGA really seriously. I hope they can get their stuff sorted with the HDMI version. I don't know what the issue is. Overall, though, I thought these guys worked pretty well, at least the ones that did work. I was happy with how the micro SD card works, putting it in there. I did have a hard time getting it out of the VGA one because the VGA connector kind of covers where you need to grab the SD card. But I don't expect you're going to be removing the SD cards that often. And so I think for many people, especially the VGA one, will be very useful to you. How much does it cost? So the kit that I have today, carrying case, the 3 guys, all different connectors, the host cable, the victim cable, is $319. So that's the kit with all 3. Any of the single ones also in the kit, so then you get both cables, the carrying case, and one of the 3. Those are $119. And it looks like the HDMI one is expected to ship in May, and the other 2 are expected to ship in April. So maybe they're still working on fixing the HDMI one or something. I don't know. So that's the price of these guys. It is priced a little bit more than some of its competitors. I think the cheapest ones are around the $60 range. I personally like the form factor and the integrated connector, not having to carry around cables and stuff. I'm sure you'll see probably the DisplayPort one on my channel a lot more now. Now I do have a couple other devices that I like, and again, these are USB-based devices, and I review both USB-based and IP-based devices on this channel. So I know both of them exist. You could buy something like a Jet KVM to connect over the network. If you want to connect over the network, this is obviously not what you want, but if you want to work on a system locally, using USB access like this I think is great. Now as for the app, I had a couple issues with the app, and I think it all stems from changing which Openterface is plugged into the computer causes the app to not detect the new one. And that makes sense to me, except that they sell a kit with all 3 of them. So it might be possible that you're like, oh, the HDMI was not working, I'll try DisplayPort, something like that. You need to restart the app to switch to a new device. I do wish it would show an error for that. I also wish it would black the screen when you lose connection to the device or something like that, because currently it just retains the old screen image for a while. Again, I'm testing with the Swift app on macOS. There is a different open source app for Windows and Linux that might have different bugs or different quirks, but as a Mac user on my laptop, that's what I test with. Now, of course, I am Applard. If you like what you see here and want to buy one, link down in the description below for that. They're currently, as of the making of this video, pre-orders. So they've met their crowdfunding target. They're going into pre-order stage. They're going to ship in April 2026 or May 2026. That's what the website says. If you like my t-shirts, such as the Use Bcachefs file system that won't eat your data, or the HomeLab Personal Data Center that I showed earlier in the video, those are both available at my merch store, linked down in the description below. All of those are handmade currently by my brother in America. I haven't set up my t-shirt shop yet here in Finland, but he'll take care of you on those. If you want to chat with me more, I have a Discord server linked down below for that. You can also find me on Mastodon if you're a big fan of that instead of the Dead Bird site. And I guess I'll see you guys on the next adventure.